light is red, the kids are in bed, which means it is time for Mile High Musings with me, Aaron Yowell, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. What's good, sports fans? Let's try take two. Welcome to episode 6 of Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Aaron Yowell, and let's hope that this one actually works, because this is the second time I've tried to start this show tonight. I hope you had a fantastic week. Mine was crazy busy. It was insane. Work was buzzing. My girls got back from their grandparents' house. My wife reported to her campus. Plus, the Broncos finally started training camp.
Go Broncos!
That's right, Penny Quinn. And CU made some noise this week. And oh yeah, those god-awful Rockies. Yeah. But let's get into all that today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sports fans of all ages, it is time. Let us ascend to the top of the peak and breathe in that rarefied mountain air and get into some sports takes a mile above the rest. Today we're going to come out on fire. We're going to move Crunch Time to the front, maybe call it a new segment called Gas Pedal. I don't know. But we're going to hit everything not Broncos in the first segment, and then we're going to talk nothing but Broncos because, frankly, we just have a lot to get to.
In this house, we praise the Lord and cheer for them Denver Broncos.
That's right, but before we do that, we need to take care of our business. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and all of our show pages with personal bios and the podcast feed for each individual show, including this one, Mile High Musings. Check out the show page at iesportsradio.com/Mile High Musings. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long-sleeve shirts, hoodies, and so much more. For nearly a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans and for the fans, and we thank each and every one of you for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. What's good, sports fans? It's Aaron Yowell, the host of Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I am here to tell you about a new sponsor on the network, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket beef jerky offers gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. That's my favorite part. This is some of the best beef jerky you can get your hands on, and for a limited time, you can win 4 tickets to see the Storm or win 4 bags of this delicious jerky. All you have to do is visit planetjerky.net, that's planetjerky.net, place your order, follow Planet Jerky at Planet Jerky, and then DM them, letting them know you bought their premium jerky because of hearing this ad right here. You'll then be entered into a raffle that ends August 1st. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. All right, y'all, let's jump back into this because we need to. Wait, did you hear that? Omaha! Yeah, that's right, Sheriff. Omaha. We're going to call an audible, and we're going to go ahead and put crunch time at the beginning. Thanks for checking in with Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Sorry if I sound a little off. Not only are we having technical difficulties, but also I'm just really fighting some allergies or something. It's the end of July in North Texas, which means it's dry as a bone. And they're also building a house next to us, which means there's brick dust and all kinds of other stuff getting kicked up. So I feel like I sound like death. But, you know, let's call that audible, and let's get into a new segment that I want to call Gas Pedal. It's a filler segment because we're not doing crunch time tonight like we normally do. So let's start with that Rockies week in review. Yeah, I guess they had to play this week, and we're going to go through this real quick, and you'll see why. Monday, 10-6 win over the Nationals. Really wasn't even that close. They were up 8-1 at one point, and then, in pure Rockies fashion, Bishop, you ain't lying. They killing everybody. Thanks for being in the chat, bro. I appreciate you. AFC West folks got to stick together. True Rockies fashion, they let it back in. And then Tuesday, they lose 6-5 to the Nats. Wednesday, they lose 5-4. And, I guess we played them close. Question mark. Whatever. Thursday, we had an off day. It was a travel day. Got to get back home to 20th and Blake and welcome in the worst team in the majors. Which you'd think, oh boy, here we go. Let's pick up a couple wins here, right? Let's right this ship since we lost a series to the Nationals. No. Friday night, we come out and lose 8-5. And then I think the one that finally broke me was Saturday. Saturday, the Rocks come out and lose 11-3. And they gave up home runs. They gave up extra-based hits. Pitching was terrible. Whatever. And then, I guess they came out today and won a true National League game. Won 2-0 with Ryan McMahon clocking both of the RBIs, one on a single and one on a double, manufacturing runs. And then it seems like as soon as the game was over, and not really, but in my ability to check Twitter and ESPN and all that jazz, the Rockies, as I feared they would, went ahead and traded away C.J. Cron and Randall Grichuk to the Angels for minor league pitchers. So Larry B., Taryn, all of you SoCal people, if you like the Angels, you're getting ball players. Those were two guys that I really liked, but they were taking away innings and ABs from younger kids. And if the Rockies have any sense, which I can't speak for them because I don't think they do, they need to start playing their younger kids. They really need to get the younger kids involved. So if that means losing those guys and stockpiling pitching, I guess that's what we need to do. But the Rockies are about dead to me, folks. They're 4-6 in their last 10. And if they wanted to go ahead and slip further into obscurity, they should lose a series to the worst team in baseball. Oops. Check. I can't speak for all of my colleagues here on the IE Sports Radio Network, but, personally, I don't like talking about teams that suck. And talking about teams that suck out of pure obligation is the actual worst, because as a unpaid Colorado sports reporter, I feel like I do have to talk about the Rockies and the Rapids. Rapids are playing right now, and in segment 2, I'm going to get you an update. But it's terrible. You talk about a team that needs a rebrand, a fresh start, a clean slate, and boom, they need to be blown up or something. I don't know. But you're not even close to competitive in your own division. You have to, you've put up 2 winning seasons and had 2 wild card berths in the last 10 years. And I had to triple check that stat to make sure that was right. That I was reporting that right. And over the last 20 years, you've only had 5 winning seasons. So over more than half of my lifetime, not by much, you've only had 5 winning seasons. I went as far back as I could, just on ESPN.com to look at that. You have good young talent that's going to leave. They're going to leave. We're going to have to trade them away to do what? Stockpile more pitching that's going to give up, 6 or 8 runs in Coors. I'm telling you, man, they need to put a roof on that stadium. It would change everything. Could you imagine a conversation between an agent and a top prospect? Could you imagine it going, oh, let's see, I know West teams are interested in your Johnny prospect. Yeah? The Dodgers? Nope. The Giants? Nope. Oh, please, just don't. Please don't say it's the Rockies. Please don't. That's right, the Rockies. I'll pass. I'll stay in college, or I'll go play for literally anybody else. At least if I played for Oakland, they're moving to Las Vegas soon. Viva, right? Which heads need to roll in the Rockies organization to to make it happen. Bishop, you understand how I feel, but you won a World Series like recently, right? I mean, the Royals won the World Series recently. They were good recently. Now, don't get me wrong. My Royals are worse than the Rockies. I don't know about that, but hey, Bishop, I'll tell you what, while you're here with me, my first baseball game, the first baseball game I ever attended in my life was a Kansas City Royals game, because it was before the Rockies were even a thing. My grandparents used to live in Kansas City, and we went to Kaufman, and I distinctly remember the waterfalls, and I thought that was very cool. But I digress. I don't want to talk about the Rockies anymore. They suck. I hate it. Let's talk about CU Buffs. University of Colorado still making moves that impress. And clearly, the Regents in Boulder listened to our Realignment Week podcast and heard me mention that the Buffaloes should roam back into the Big 12. The Big 12, the CU Board of Regents, and the Athletic Department Governing Board announced on Thursday, and I saw this everywhere, so credit to ESPN, USA Today, everybody on Twitter. They announced on Thursday that the University of Colorado at Boulder will be returning to the Big 12 effective 2024-2025. And that move perfectly aligns with the Pac-12's new TV deal set to take place that same year. And I said this before, and this has kind of been my reaction all week. Honest to God, having a Mountain Time Zone team play in the Pacific Athletic Conference is not right. 2015. Okay, almost 10 years ago. And they're not winning another anytime soon. Well, dude, the Rockies aren't winning anytime soon either. So respect. Thank God we have... Oh, wait. No, you have football. I don't. But we'll get there in a minute. So I got a lot of tweets from my colleagues here on the IE Sports Radio Network, either congratulating me or welcoming back like I had any damn thing to do with this. But I'm just pumped that CU is back where they belong. Honestly, like, I'm glad that they are there. It makes a whole lot of sense for them to be in the Big 12. I mean, tell me Coach Prime's not looking to make a splash. And can you imagine a world where Deion Sanders has a recruiting pipeline to Texas and Florida? Well, your wish has been granted. Imagination come true. Because that is now the reality. Because kids from Texas and Florida love to play in the Big 12, which was another reason I said during Alignment Week that they should be in the Big 12. Because that's who they used to recruit. California kids, Texas kids, Florida kids. I mean, the year that they won the national championship, I was a wee bairn of like 6 almost. But their roster was made up of like California, Texas, Florida, the occasional Hawaii guy. That's what you do. And Coach Prime's got the pipeline here. He used to live like 15 minutes from where I live now. Ugh. So, it's going to be awesome. And honestly, CU recruits don't want to play in the Pac-12. They want to play in the Big 12. And I'm sure that my uncle, former McDonald's All-American basketball player, would have much rather played in the then Big 8 versus the then Pac-10. Buford, if you are listening this week, message me and let me know your thoughts. I seriously want your basketball player's perspective on conference alignment. I know it's been a minute since you were on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Yes, it's in my studio somewhere here. I believe on that top shelf up there. Yes, it is. But I want to know your perspective, and then I want to compare that to how a football player would think. So ESPN also reported that the Big 12 Conference is entertaining, welcoming in Arizona, who's ready to dip on the Pac-12, which they're kind of a Mountain Time Zone team too. UConn, that's weird, and Gonzaga, also weird, to add to the influx of CU and Houston, BYU, Cincinnati, and UCF. Now, there's the Eastern and like the Pacific time zone teams playing in the Big 12, but we had that weirdness already established with West Virginia. And UCF needs to play in a real conference because they're destroying everybody in their conference, so they need to play with some players. And I know that the Big 12 is losing Texas and Oklahoma. And, CU filling in is not Texas, is not Oklahoma yet. But they've got star power. And that's what you need. So I think also it's college, but financially it's a fantastic move. It's spectacular. For the school, it's aces. For the brand, it's a layup. For Coach Prime, it's an absolute freaking no-brainer. And I could not be more excited for the next, for sure, 2 seasons of college football. But it's time for our first break. We're going to take a short one. And when we get back, it is officially football season.
Go Broncos!
Here on Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, let's go ahead and break this huddle. You are listening to Mile High Musings right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Don't forget to give the show a follow over on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it is now. I'm not sure. At Mile High Musings _IESR. My phone still hasn't changed to the X, but my computer has, but it hasn't. I don't know what's going on. Elon, figure it out or don't or whatever. I got to talk to the people, the powers that be, about a Threads account because I don't know. I just want to get the show out there more. Again, Bishop, thanks for being with us on the restart because we had some weird technical difficulties halfway through the first segment, the first go-round. But let's go camping, y'all, because Broncos camp officially opened Friday.
In this house, we praise the Lord and cheer for them Denver Broncos.
But they did conduct two quote-unquote acclimation practices Wednesday and Thursday. So in my eyes, camp started Wednesday, especially because they had media availability. Now, one of the things that I want to applaud Coach Payton for is that he's shutting stuff down. He's not letting media update, sort of like live update. He's holding it all off until the end, which I think is brilliant. Taryn, thanks for being here. I'm glad you're still listening. I don't know what happened. I had to restart everything. Hopefully the show doesn't suck because of that. I really hope everyday regulars, Gigi, I'm talking to you, that you had a chance to check out the 3 and Out podcast on Monday from this last week with Larry B. Larry B's a juggernaut. Not only, is he one of the heads of this network, but he's been rolling through 8 divisions in 8 days, previewing the entire NFL with as many of us that can come on and talk about our teams from the network. And I was privileged enough to be on that show on Monday to kick it all off. And Larry had some great questions, as the Broncos look to right this ship. But one thing that I want to say before we get too deep into this, Adam, thanks for being here, man. Chicago up. Glad that you're here. Go Bears. We'll talk later about my mother-in-law and her fascination of the Bears and how I, unfortunately for me, I guess, or fortunately, have to keep an eye on your team. Before we get too deep, one of the things that I want to get into is that when I, Joe Schmo, nobody, unpaid podcast host, comes out and has the chance to, quote, publish a take like, quote, the coaching staff and game management was abysmal last year. Obviously, you could have seen that had you known even a lick about football. But if you really got down to the X's and O's and analyzed some more things, you could tell that it was the reason they were 5-12 and not 500, which doesn't exist in the NFL anymore because we play a 17-game schedule. So 9-8 or 8-9, whatever. But then you have Sean Payton, a football mastermind, a genius, if you will, I think. And I'm not saying that because he's my coach. He hasn't proved shit to me yet. Sorry, I should have hit the explicit button on this one. But he comes out with the same take to the media a couple days later. It's got me feeling pretty good. I love that that is how camp has started. He called out the old coaching staff. Now, he walked, quote unquote, walked back his comments, but he didn't. He never apologized for what he said. He apologized that he said it out loud. Because he's been preaching a forget the past, focus on the future mentality to the guys in the locker room. And the first thing he does is, quote unquote, step in it. Because he had his, quote unquote, Fox hat on and not his coaching hat. listen, he wasn't wrong. He was damn right that it was terrible. Last year was atrocious. And his stance on this matter reminds me very much of a one Michael Malone, the best coach in the city right now. See the NBA trophy he just won? The name of the game in Denver this year is going to be accountability. It's going to be accountability. Adam, thank you for the shout out. I have not had a chance to listen to them all yet. I've got to go back and listen to everybody's. Like I said at the beginning of the show, this week was crazy at work, but I'm on the road this week for work, so I will be going through everybody's. I cannot wait to hear everybody else's takes. I promise you that I will listen to them. And Bishop, you're right. He's going to call out everybody. He's not just going to call out the old staff. He's going to call out the guys that were there. He's going to call out the guys that are still there. He's going to call out the guys that are still performing week in and week out. And that's what I want from my coach. Now, here's a bright spot for you. The Broncos had the 5th best defense against both the run and the pass last year. So I'm not worried about the defense as we look forward into this. And I'm not going to start with like defense and offense. I want to get into the coaching things. But this has 100% to do with coaching and that mentality. And I'm not worried about the defense. In fact, I haven't been worried about the defense since the Von Miller days. And I know that he and Bradley Chubb are gone. But I still believe in the defense. I still believe in Justin Simmons. I still believe in Pat Surtain. I believe, it's weird, I believe in Randy Gregory, even though like he's kind of a Band-Aid. I believe in the young kids. I believe in the Bash Brothers. I believe in Alex Singleton and the outlaw Josie Jewell in the middle of that linebacking core. I believe in what we brought in. And Bishop, you can tell me more about Frank Clark, because dudes like that who used to come in and smack our quarterbacks just pissed me off, and I wiped them from my memory. So, you know, where the Broncos sorely lacked any drive last year was the offense. Pun 1,000,000% intended on that one, gang. I said on 3 and Out this week that Nathaniel Hackett's lack of game management killed the team last year, and so many of those close games were lost because of him. And I've never, ever, 39 years of living, lots of years of coaching football, lots of years of watching these Broncos, I've never heard of a team, a franchise, having to hire a quote-unquote game day consultant in the middle of the year because a grown-ass man, a head coach in the NFL, could not count backwards from 40 or could not shrink his freaking play call to get it in time. Thank you, he's a solid player, on God. Does he ever play 3 technique with a hand in the ground? Speaking of Frank Clark, just asking for a friend, because I think he might see some time there. Not that I know anything. Ugh. Last year, the Broncos were 1-5 in the division. And those 5 games that they lost by a combined 27 points. So on average, they lost by a combined like 5.4 points per game. That's less than a touchdown. 2 of the division games were overtime losses, and the worst loss of those 5 in the division was a 9-point loss in Las Vegas to the Raiders. Not even Kansas City, who owns us, who's beat us like 750 times in a row. They didn't even schmack us last year. Both of those games could have gone either way. And I got mad respect for every team in this division. If you heard me Monday, mad respect, because they're destroying us right now. And the AFC West, I think, is the most buck-wild division in football, because any one of those teams could be 5-12, or they could win the flipping Super Bowl. So we ain't gonna cut him, Bishop. He ain't. We signed his ass to a long deal. He's gonna get lots of play. So last year, 5-12. Check this out. I'm gonna break this down for you here. 3 overtime losses, 9 losses by 7 points or less, 4 losses by a field goal or less. They only had 1 blowout loss, and it was that Christmas Day Nickelodeon Slime Fest on the road in LA. I turned it off. I literally turned the game off. I was at my in-laws wearing a Broncos jersey, and I was like, turn the channel. This is embarrassment. Turn the channel. Let's watch a movie or something. Our largest margin of victory was 9 against the Cardinals. We only had 3 games where we had a receiver over 100 yards. We only had 2 games with a running back over 100 yards, and I didn't even care enough to put down how many times Russell Wilson was held to under 200 yards. So I don't know. Would Hackett, Adam asked in chat, would Hackett wait until the opposing D was out on the field before deciding what play to run? March used to do that, and it caused the Bears to get delay game penalties constantly. It seemed like that. It's like he wanted to run check with him. Like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, those guys like Mahomes, Josh Allen, like all the amazing quarterbacks that have the stupid IQ, like the crazy good football IQ. They've got probably 2 plays in the huddle. They've got to check with me. Peyton's Omaha thing. Elway did it all the time back in the day. I don't know if Hackett was saying, if these guys come out on the field, let's do this. And then he couldn't see who was coming out on the field. I don't know. I just think he was peeing down his leg a lot because he had to actually be a big boy and make all the decisions. He gets to come back to Denver in week 5? The Jets are coming back. And the last time Aaron Rodgers played in Denver, he was held to 77 passing yards. And Hackett was his OC. I'm just saying. I think Hackett's problem is that he's probably a really good OC. He's not a good game manager. That was blatantly obvious. So I talked about all these stats and things. And so this 5-12 record made me look at Sean Payton's last 5 years in New Orleans. He had a winning record every year. Overall, he made the playoffs 9 times in New Orleans. In New Orleans, that was the joke franchise of the NFL for how long? People wearing brown paper bags over their heads. You couldn't sell out the Louisiana Superdome. And so he makes the playoffs 9 times, including a Super Bowl win. And according to ProFootballReference.com, Sean Payton never had a bottom-dwelling offense. And there were many, many years where his rushing attack was at or near the top of the league in almost every statistical category. Go back to the fact that I said I'm not worried about the defense. At all. So one of the things that I'm looking at as Sean Payton is making these moves... Not going to we'll see. The Jets are stacked this year. I'm not saying we're going to hold them to 77 yards. I just hope it's competitive. That's all I need this year is some more competitive games. Actually, no, that's not true because we had competitive games last year. I need 9 and 8. But I'm watching these moves that the front office makes, and they get Javonte Williams back, and they invest in Samaje Perine, and they go hard in the offensive line. They bring in some blocking tight ends. So what does that tell you they want to do? Well, they want to run the football because statistically, Sean Payton likes to run the football. Why? Because it sets up play action. Why was that important? Well, Drew Brees was his quarterback, who is a shorter quarterback, like a one Russell Wilson. And play action can put quarterbacks who need to be, they can put them on the move. And if you're a diehard orange and blue like me, you already know where I'm going with this. But when running backs feast in Denver, the QB has a field day. Now, that can be said everywhere. But I specifically look at things that would kill teams that I don't know why defenses, I don't know why it bit him in the butt. I guess I took it for granted because I watched so many quarterbacks do it. But, you had Elway, who... excuse me, takes the Broncos to 5 Super Bowls, wins 2. Granted, he got schmacked in 3 of them. Terrell Davis, full stop. And you have Jake Plummer in 2005, who damn near made a Super Bowl with that team. Great running backs. Those 2 guys could run boot play action. They could run play action boot because they were a little dangerous on their feet. Not Elway as he got later in his career, but he did have the helicopter run against Green Bay in the Super Bowl. But they could get out of the pocket and sling it. So there's that. And then you had Peyton Manning. Well, I mean, God kissed his football brain. So whatever. He had a running game. He needed it to win that Super Bowl that he won. He needed that defense too. But that dude is a savant. He sees the game like nobody else. And then you have a QB like Russell Wilson, who's a little shorter, who has lost weight, who's already showing in camp that his mobility is better than last year. He's making throws on the move with better accuracy. I know it's camp, and you don't want to read too much into guys with like the weird eggshell helmet cover pad things. But one of the things that they're preaching this year is pace and accuracy and precision when they run plays. So if Russ can get out and be mobile and be on his feet more, I think it lends to success. So let's invest in the running game. Javonte Williams is already, like, his recovery from last year's injury is ridiculous. It's like Adrian Peterson status. And I've watched tape on him run, and it's not so much him breaking tackles, but the way he's hitting the hole, his first step, his explosion. As a former football coach, I can appreciate those things, and he looks ready to go. So, all that to say, I don't foresee the Broncos being at the bottom of the league in pre-snap penalties on either side of the ball this year like they were last year. But, speaking more on last year, it was a rough one for Vance Joseph, who comes back to Denver, but this time as our defensive coordinator. Last year he was in Arizona, and it was not a great year. They were bit by the injury bug. Kyler Murray's weirdness at the beginning of the year was not really putting that locker room in a place to succeed. But they weren't as bad as the Broncos, so there's looking up. Joseph's tenure as Broncos head coach in 2017-2018 was tough, to say the least, going 11-21 in those 2 years. But when you have starting quarterbacks named Simeon and Osweiler and Keenum, the odds are not in your favor. The Broncos only kept 2 coaches from last year's staff. Marcus Dixon, the defensive line coach, and Christian Parker, the defensive backs coach. Good moves. Sean Payton saw all that he needed to from that group, so clean slate. Last coaching note on Sean Payton, though, he said, we're going to learn how rewarding it is to play for each other, compete for each other, rather than for ourselves. And I expect us to think playoffs. Think playoffs. Give yourself a goal. Be aggressive. If you want to think winning season, well, there are probably 4 games in that schedule in those overtime losses, the 1 point, the 2, whatever, that he wins. We still don't make the playoffs at 9-8. Playoffs? Talk about playoffs. Yeah, I'm talking about playoffs. So that's my coach, though. That's the coach I wanted to play for. That's the coach I wanted to be. And that's the type of coach I want coaching my teams. See Michael Malone. See Sean Payton. Speaking of clean, though, have you seen the new snow-capped helmets the Broncos came out with? On Tuesday, that's right, Christmas in July, the Broncos released their new, quote-unquote, alternate helmet. It's white with a white face mask. Chef's kiss. The old Denver D with the skinny-legged horse. And navy blue stripes racing outside of a bigger orange stripe that runs down the middle of the helmet. But per NFL rules, the team is only allowed to wear those lids when they wear the Color Rush jerseys. But CEO Greg Penner and team president Damani Leach confirmed that the team is working on new unis. So last week I thought the team was going to announce entirely new uniforms, new Color Rush jerseys. But the fact that the team is looking at a rebrand excites me even more. I talked about that last week when I talked about the Nuggets and their things. I love talking jerseys. I love talking logos. I love talking rebrand. I would love to see the Broncos go back to the old, quote-unquote, old D, but keep navy blue as the accent blue color as an homage to the Elway teams that won the Super Bowl versus going back to that royal blue. Royal blue has a lot of evil feelings inside of me. I'll be happy if we win another game. Amen. Amen, Adam. Amen. Thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate having some chat, especially some football heads. And, see, okay, Bishop, I'm telling you, Chiefs getting all whites. The Bills, I feel like the Bills did it first, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Bills went with them all whites because that was like kind of a throwback to them, and those look clean. I think the Bills' white helmets are clean, and that's why I was happy the Broncos did it. So, Adam, I need you in here when we talk hockey as we get closer to October, because you already know, but I'm getting off track. The timeline on the new unis is still to be determined. But it's time, y'all. It's time. Considering the news, I think you're going to see the white helmets become the main helmet. I predict an orange top with white bottoms for home jerseys and a white top with either navy or orange bottoms for the roads. I think the Color Rush style, the font, that like stripe layout, I think that's going to be the main style. The team needs to abandon this whole bat wing style that currently resides on the jersey. It reminds me very much of when you had NCAA football for Xbox, and that was like the coolest jersey you could turn your team's jersey into was the Batwing style and all that. I'm done with it. I guess I'm that much of an old school kind of guy where I like to see that older look, but give me some updated colors. Give me that white helmet. Give me a white on white because you know that's clean. But 2 months out from puck drop, you know that I'm already counting down. I wasn't going to talk Avalanche, Adam. Don't make me. We got to take a time out. On the other side, let's talk ins and outs of personnel moves that the Broncos made this season. Thanks for being with us. You are listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernan.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Shout out to Adam, who's been in the chat with us tonight. Check out The Neutral Zone. Check out Chi-Town Weekly. Adam's on both. Check out This is Casey Sports with Bishop, who's been in the chat. Check out Set Point with Taryn, who's listening in on the show. Check out Couples Perspective with Larry B. Yo, we have such great shows on this network. But right now, you're listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And it's time to dive into those personnel moves that the Broncos made this year. Much in the same way we did with the Nuggets and the Avalanche. It's a lot harder with a 53-man roster, so I'm going to do my best. Front disclaimer, I'm sure that I've missed some stuff. And if I have, forgive me, for I am one man who's not getting paid to do this. I'm not saying that to get paid, Larry. Don't get mad at me. I'm stating the facts. Let's start with the outs, though. Get out! I'm going to run through these quick. Tackle Calvin Anderson and punter Corliss Waitman is signed with the Patriots. Sorry, Mikey Two Guns. Not sorry. You get good players. Just I don't like the Patriots. Tight end Andrew Beck and running back Mike Boone signed with Houston. This is the one that hurts the most, I think. Draymond Jones signed with the Seahawks. Eric Salbert signed with the Dolphins. Deshaun Williams signed with Carolina. Long snapper Jacob Bobenmeyer, coolest name on the roster, signed with the Raiders. And then Graham Glasgow. Didn't see where he's gone. If anybody can help me out on that. I don't know where Graham Glasgow went, but we did not pick him up. He was riddled with injury. He couldn't find his groove, and we had him bouncing between guard and center, and so he was just kind of up against it last year. And then right as training camp kicked off, the lineman Iome Uwazurike was suspended by the league for betting on games in the team facility. You dingus.
What, Daddy?
Penny, you can't bet on games if you're playing in them. That's not right. Let's talk about the ins because it's way more fun, right? The Broncos signed guard Ben Powers from the Ravens. Dude's a beast. Please, God, give me big offensive linemen that like to hit people. And then they signed Mike McGlinchey from the 49ers. So you just shored up a guard spot and 2 tackle spots because you also get Garrett Bowles back from injury. Thank you very much. You get Zach Allen from the Cardinals, a guy who's played in Vance Joseph's system, like I said on 3 and Out this week. I love that. You get Frank Clark from the Chiefs. Bishop and I have kind of already talked about that. Add him to that outside linebacker core. You get Chris Manhertz from Jacksonville, a blocking tight end. Broncos signed quarterback Jarrett Stidham from the Raiders. Wait a minute. Didn't he finish the year starting for Oakland? Oh, that's right. They signed Italian Derek Carr to a deal. Anyway, Jimmy Garoppolo. Right? Broncos bring in Samaje Perine from the Bengals. So already I've hit the, we've decided to focus on the run game. Cornerback Trayvon Smith from Houston. Feel like we swapped people. We signed a fullback. That's how you know that we're committed to the running game. We signed a flipping fullback, Michael Burton from the Chiefs. Oh, Glasgow is signed. He did sign with the Lions. That poor sod. Oh, thank you, Adam, for that update. So Graham Glasgow signed with the Lions. Bless his heart. But they made the playoffs last year, Adam, and we did not. So, whatever. Riley Dixon's in from the Rams because we got rid of Corliss Waitman. Tony Jones Jr. is in from Seattle. Again, see the fact that we're kind of stabling the running backs. And then kicker Brett Maher from the Cowboys. I know my man's had some serious yips in the playoffs, missing extra points. Drewski, you could dog me on that one later on Twitter, but I think it was time to move on from McManus. He's been around for a while, and they do that. Broncos do that. They move on. It's time. The kickers. It's fine. And then the Broncos also re-signed Alex Singleton, Kareem Jackson, and like I said, I'm sure that there are other transactions out there that I missed. But the Broncos invested, and that's the most important thing. And then you have the draft additions. In the second round, Marvin Mims Jr. from Oklahoma, also from Frisco Lone Star High School, not like 2 miles from where I sit right now. Drew Sanders from Arkansas, who you can't evaluate camp, but I can't wait to see this dude actually hit people because I hear he's making plays. From everything I read, from everything I listen to, from everything I watch, he's got a shot. So that's good. Also, we need him to fill in on special teams, period. DB Riley Moss, add a good kid from Iowa with a third-round pick to the best position stable on the team, I think, in our defensive backs. And then you have safety J.L. Skinner. Again, same thing. Add him to the defensive backs, which is our strong suit. And then center Alex Forsyth with our last pick in round 7. And Forsyth got some run with the first team. Part of that is guys going on the side field, get some work and, taking some reps off for injury and things like that. But look, Sean Payton's got to see what he has with the young kids too. So I already mentioned Garrett Bowles is coming back from injury. Tim Patrick, wide receiver, coming back from injury. I saw him run some routes. Timmy P looks fast. Which that's a good freaking room too. The wide receiver room. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick, Marvin Mims Jr. I missed little Jordan Humphrey on the ends. A guy who used to play for the Saints. Like, telling you, I don't think Russell Wilson was put into a position to succeed by his coaching staff last year because my dude has toys. And then, of course, you get Javonte Williams back from injury, running back out of North Carolina. Look, when he started to take off, I saw bits and pieces of great running backs from Broncos past in him. And then he gets hurt, so you have to put that on hold. His recovery time is ridiculous. He said he doesn't even think about the fact that he injured his leg. It's not in his mind when he's out there. And that's good and bad. And he said respectfully he's going to let the doctors make the call, but he's just ready to hit people. And he's a young kid. Like, I love it. I love it. Bring it back, son. He's a good running back. Taryn's right. The Broncos should be improved. And if Sean Payton can't cure the Broncos, I don't know who can. The answer, Taryn, is nobody. If it's not Sean Payton, it's nobody. Sure as hell wasn't Nathaniel Hackett. So, Shelby Harris, an old friend, Shelby Harris, visited the team this week because the Broncos are in the market for a D lineman with the suspension of Awazarike, who played last year. He had promised, but if you're going to be a dingus and bet on games, the Broncos don't have to cut him. He doesn't count against the 53-man roster. But Sean Payton's probably going to cut him to send a message. Because that's the coach I want. And the Broncos started camp with only 4 players on the injured list. Baron Browning, who's on the PUP. Mike Purcell is on the NFI, the non-football injury list. Kendall Hinton's on the NFI. And KJ Hamler is on the PUP. And Hamler is actually the only one not seen on the side field, what they're calling the side field. When camp started, you had guys like McGlinchey missed because of an excused personal reason, so hope everything's okay there. But for the most part, like, guys are just putting in work. They're putting in work, and they know that they have something to prove. There's big facts. Russell Wilson looks trimmer, showed off some mobility on Friday. Defense is, quote unquote, won the day on Friday, taking advantage of some of the younger tackles getting offensive reps. But one thing of note on Friday's first official day of camp, or day 3 or whatever the hell it was, but I already mentioned this, kind of the pace of play. The pace of the play is being called, being executed. That's what the coaching staff was harping on, was get it in, get it out of your hands. Russ was seen throwing a lot of short, not checkdowns, but short routes. They've got the athletes on the outside. Get the ball in their hands and let them make a guy miss. Straight up, period, end of story. I love that. It's a much welcomed change of pace from last year. We're going to take one more quick break here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. When we get back, let's talk some realistically defined expectations.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We're back here on Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am Aaron Yowell, your host, your Mile High host, 6'7" high host, as it were. I want to thank Bishop and Taryn and Adam for sticking with me in the chat tonight, especially with the technical difficulties at the beginning of the show. I feel like the second half has been a little rushed, trying to get in everything as I'm clock watching, because we all got to get to work tomorrow. But anyways, I appreciate you three sticking with and chiming in. It's been good to get into some dialogue. Go check out their shows, gang. I've already plugged them once. Go check them out. Check out all the shows on the network. But let's set some realistic expectations. Some clearly defined realistic expectations. It's probably the most paramount thing in my marriage. It's what makes it work. Are those realistically defined expectations? So as I said on 3 and Out this week, I think 9 and 8 is realistic. I do. I think 9 and 8 is realistic, especially the division that we play in with Pat Mahomes, with Justin Herbert being as good as he is, getting a huge deal, and also needing to prove something. I also think, though, that 11 and 6 is not outside the realm of possibilities. And quite honest, a full 180 could be real. Because, like I said before, the AFC West is buck wild. Sean Payton is a way better coach than Nathaniel Hackett. And you can't control the injury bug like last year. So we ran a JV offensive line out there and had all those close games. 9 under 7 points, 7 points or lower, 9 losses, 7 points or lower. I said in my CU Buffs schedule rundown a few episodes ago that a complete turnaround for them is unrealistic, because it is. But the NFL's weird, man. And I mean, Sean Payton wants them thinking playoffs, 12-5, maybe not outside of the realm of possibilities. I still think Kansas City's probably going to beat the crap out of us because they're good. I don't see the Raiders finishing ahead of us this year. Sorry, Kale. Sorry, Larry B. Sorry, Raiders fans. I don't. I said on Monday that the Chargers are the wild card in the division, as it were. I feel like Justin Herbert's got a lot to prove. He's the quote-unquote second kid behind Pat Mahomes. They are working through some coaching nuance. Bringing in Kellen Moore looks great. If he was that good, why wasn't he a head coach? Because I live in Dallas. I live north of Dallas. I watch the Cowboys. I don't have a choice. You know? So the AFC West is just crazy. It's crazy competitive. We're starting to see some of that injury bug, so you might have a chance. Yeah, I know, Bishop, and that was the one thing I talked about in my division preview that would get you guys. I think that's the only thing that would get the Chiefs is the injury bug. I don't think it's any of the teams in the AFC West. But, you know, they could be fighting for, the Broncos could be fighting for a playoff spot this year. The AFC West, like I said, crazy competitive. It's the wild, wild West for sure. Each team within the division is crazy talented, even the Raiders. Chiefs are probably going to win it again. It is what it is. Unless they get hit with the injury bug, like Bishop and I are talking about. But there are a lot of people involved with this Broncos team that have a metric ton to prove this year. Sean Payton can, I think, effectively cement his legacy as one of the GOATs if he can turn this team around. I mean, he turned the Saints around. Russell Wilson, I'm telling you right now, sure as hell ain't going to let last year be the lasting taste in people's mouths for his career, because that is what people remember. If he does not figure it out and right the ship, they'll be like, oh yeah, Russell won one, but he was kind of garbage. That was that defense, that Legion of Boom defense that won it for him. Javonte Williams wants to prove that he's a true number one running back in this league and that he really is Superman, I guess, wearing that S on his chest, the way he's coming back from this injury. I think all the wide receivers want to prove that they're worth the money. We've invested a lot in this wide receiver core. They're very good, and they are either playing to prove that they belong on this team or prove that they should get paid somewhere else. There have been rumors of Cortland Sutton being on the move. That would break my heart because he is my favorite wide receiver on the team because he's steady. He's consistent. That's what you want in a wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy's the same way. So maybe the coaching staff and the player personnel staff see Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy in the same light, but they're good route runners who are good with the ball in their hands after the catch. They can run all kinds of different packages. They can block. I don't know. I like both those guys. I don't want to see either of them move. The offensive line needs a whole damn year, don't they? And so does the defensive line. Defensive line needs to prove that they can actually get pressure. And more those outside linebackers. Come on, Frank Clark, Randy Gregory, Baron Browning when he's healthy. Because we haven't had an outside linebacker lead the team in sacks since Von Miller did it 5 years ago. Like right before we traded him. It was the last time an outside linebacker led the team in sacks. Since we switched to the 3-4. Not good, coach. Not good. I think the DBs are the most talented group on this team, and I really think that they're just going to be in the mood to shut some people up. I think they want to shut stuff down, shut people up, and just prove that they're the best. I really think Pat Surtain wants to prove that he's the best in the league because a lot of people are giving love to Sauce Gardner, and Sauce Gardner's good, don't get me wrong. My man deserves some flowers, but I think nobody throws at Pat Surtain. How's he going to prove that he's good? Oh, wait, nobody throws at him. That's but they throw at him once, and that's it. So I'm optimistic this year, gang, as I breathe in that rarefied mountain air, but don't think for one hot second that during this year you're going to get nothing but sunshine and rainbows if we see another shit show from this team like we did last year. Straight up. You're getting a lot of real talk tonight. And I wasn't planning on coming this spicy. Last thing is looking at the TV schedule. You've got 4 guaranteed primetime games on the schedule with 2 quote-unquote flex games. That's the Lions and Week 18 against the Raiders in Vegas. You know, I'm going to keep an eye on all things Broncos this week. because the rest of the camp and leading up to the preseason opener. But like I said, real talk, thought a lot about this. I'm going to talk about what's relevant. If the Rockies and Rapids continue their current trajectories, they're going to get less and less airtime from me. I get 60 minutes once a week. That's it. So if I feel called to spend time on the teams making an impact, not the team slipping into obscurity, that's what I want to do. If in September and October, this is a show more about the Broncos, Avs, and Nuggets and Buffs, so be it. Get good. Be relevant. Leave a legacy. But that's going to do it for us today here on Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Do not forget to check out all the other shows on the network. Head over to social media. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Hit me with them 5 stars if you like it. Thanks again, everybody. I'm Aaron Yowell, signing off from the top of the mountain. Stay good, sports.